Good afternoon. Millennium Consulting is running a series of podcasts during which we hear about the careers and backgrounds of some of the world's most successful technology leaders. Today, we are talking with Bonnie Tinder, founder and CEO at Raven Intel. Hi, Bonnie. Thank you for taking the time to join us today.
It's great to be here. I'm so pleased to be a part of your podcast series.
So we kick off with the first question. You've enjoyed a successful career within the HR technology space over the past 20 years, going on to found Raven Intel in 2018. So can you tell us what made you decide to pursue your career in this sector?
You know, I think the HR technology space is one of the most exciting places to be because you have an intersection of people and technology and this idea of being able to really enable organizations to empower their people through technology and manage their workforce effectively. To me, the intersection of those two things is so exciting. And I think what has happened over the last 5-10 years in terms of cloud technology and now AI is, really has made the space incredibly interesting and, it's very dynamic. So I think for all of those reasons, it's a great place to be and why I chose it. A couple of years ago, I founded a company called Raven Intel that really helps customers that are implementing enterprise software choose the best partner for their projects. And so I took a subset of that HR technology world and a pain point that I identified in my long sort of time in the industry and built a business around it because I felt like customers needed a tool in an independent way to do research on consulting partners. And that's really the genesis of the business.
So continuing with the discussions on Raven, what are the main challenges you currently face at Raven Intel?
I think I want to talk first about the challenges just in general with implementation of HR technology and just enterprise technology in general. Implementation of a big software package is something that most people do maybe once in a career, maybe twice in a career. It's not something that you do every day. And a lot of people are very happy for that because implementation can be extremely challenging. And like any big project, if it's worthwhile doing, it's going to have, you're going to have a lot of challenges in building the plan and converting your information over and getting that system adopted. So, implementation is something that you want to make sure that you're spending the time to do the planning up front to ensure that you have a smooth process. It's not always, it's not going to be probably smooth. I mean, that's, implementation is known for its hiccups. On the other hand, if you can plan and you choose the right partner and the right software, that process can be as pain-free, more pain-free than just, entering things without a lot of due diligence. So I would say, that's what Raven helps customers to do is plan through, through that initial selection process. I think the challenge that Raven faces as a business that's been around for now 2 years is just getting customers to know that we're there. I talk to customers all of the time who said, oh gosh, I wish I had Raven when I was going through an implementation, or I wish I knew about Raven before. And so just getting the word out and letting customers know that we exist Certainly that's something that I think about every day is how do we get in front of more software customers to let them know that we are a resource, a free resource for them to ensure their projects are great.
So Millennium were introduced to Raven Intel through Unit 4. So could you please explain how the relationship between Unit 4 and Raven Intel works?
So Unit 4 is one of our enterprise software customers, and we are sort of an independent platform for Unit 4 to manage and showcase the work that their partners are doing. And so on our site, if you look at ravenintel.com and you click on the on the Unit 4 area, you will see all of the certified partners for Unit 4. And more importantly, the reviews that customers have provided that firm. And so, number one, we help customers of Unit 4 make a great decision when they're implementing in a partner. So based on peer reviews, they can go out to our site, see all the options that they have, and select the right partner for their projects. And what we do for Unit 4 is really help them ensure consistency within their implementations and quality partner delivery. And when you have so many partners responsible for implementations, having that sort of independent oversight, having a place that really helps ensure quality and transparency is important. And so we're able to help Unit 4 in that process, really ensure that every single one of their customers' implementations are great. And if they're not, how they can go about fixing them or enabling partners, with better tools to make sure that quality delivery is consistent.
Brilliant, thank you. So now we're going to talk about you. What motivates you and makes you want to get up in the morning?
I think big picture, it is taking a complex problem and making it simple. That's always been something that I've enjoyed most throughout my career is, creating tools to help, really solve complex problems in an easy way and in a way that's easy for people to digest what the potential solutions are in an easy way. And so what motivates me, I think, is, as it relates to my business today, is creating a simple way for a customer to make a great decision in a partner, creating a simple way for a consulting partner to showcase all of their customer experience in an easy, platform, and also, making it easy for software vendors to really have a bird's eye view on what their partners are doing, who their best partners are, and what their, how they compare to their peers in terms of implementation. So I would say what motivates me is being able to create those tools that really take a lot of data and put it into a very digestible format so that people can look at it and make a quick decision and know what's right.
Is there anything you'd wish you'd known when you first started your career?
Gosh, that is when I first started my career, I started my career implementing HR software for an HR and payroll vendor, based in the U.S. And I think about the internet back then. It was dial-up connections. We were just learning what email was, and how dramatic of a change things have gone through since back then, which was, even client server at that time was considered like the thing. And I look back at, really how manual things were back then versus now, where everything is cloud, everything is mobile. You can get at your data, from anywhere in the world. Has been such a dramatic change over the last 25 years, particularly in HR software. I think on the one hand, the technology has changed so much over that period of time. But, I think back, processes and good project management and things like that, what stayed consistent, even, independent of the technology that we used. I mean, there's some common themes that, that will always ring true, no matter what technology that you're using. And I'd say, the lesson learned in there, what I wish that I had known is technology is important, but it is not everything. And, and so you need to focus on technology as well as good process, good project management, and things like that. Both sides of the coin there, and just realize that, whatever business problem that you're solving, you need to almost, sort of think about technology as secondary, and number one, focus on, what's the people, what's the process, and how are we going to solve things independent of the technology. Let the technology follow that. And, I think, those would be the things that I would say, you learn over a lot of years. But looking back, that's it.
And what advice would you give to someone starting their career within the technology industry today?
I would say, most important, like, and related to what I just mentioned about a lesson learned, is what is so critical I think in our business today is the ability to listen and communicate, number one, to build good relationships with those around you, with your colleagues, with, potential employers, and those relationships always need to come first before technology. So it's important to know, and be, extremely proficient in technology, and to have skills that are going to be marketable. But I think equally important is the ability to communicate, what it is that you're solving. What are the larger impacts to the business that you want to have? And I think you need to have both to really have a career that flourishes in the technology sector. You can know everything there is to know about the technology and still fail if you don't understand the people and the business side of things. So I think it's important to focus on both, and like anything else, networking and the people are probably going to be the best ways that you're going to get that first job and move up within the organization. So continue to build your network, because it's so important.
That was a great answer. Thank you. Sticking with recruitment, what are the key skills and personal qualities you look for when hiring?
I would say, in addition to experience and, and the skill set for the particular job at hand, I think seeing someone who has a passion for what they are doing is so important. And it's so visible, I think, from the first time that you meet somebody, whether they have a fire and an excitement for their work. And I think that's contagious. It's something that I look for, is, how excited is somebody about the field or about previous work that they've done. And number two is, how much of a creative or strategic thinker is somebody. So not only somebody who can do the job, but take that job, own it, and bring things to the next level. I would say, that sort of visionary attitude. And then the third is somebody who's results driven. So, being able to not only have great ideas, but show, here's my idea, and then here's how, here were the impacts of that. Here were the results of this particular campaign, or whatever it is. So I would say those three things, in addition to experience, are to me are what set certain people apart from the rest.
And what do you think will be the key employment challenges faced by the next generation of employees?
I think the period that we are in right now, with the COVID situation, and a highly distributed workforce, is something, that happened very quickly. And, that a lot of businesses had to adapt to that environment, and managing employees in a distributed work environment. I think that will, present certain challenges in the future to understand, okay, so how do I empower a highly remote workforce when we're not, able to be in the same physical proximity, and use some of the tools that, we had before in terms of building office relationships. So how do we do everything and build a culture in the digital world? I think that that's probably going to be the biggest challenge, is, being able to really communicate clearly, and to, enable your workforce in a totally digital setting. I think that that's something that we're still evolving to. Some companies are a little bit further than others because they were used to this environment in the past. But it's a challenge, and it will continue to be for many years.
And back to you, a question we ask all our guests: what are your interests outside of work, and how do you relax?
So I have a family. I have a son who is is a sophomore in high school and is starting back at school virtually this week. What I enjoy to do when I have a free afternoon, I love figure skating. And so I actually, that's my favorite go-to activity, stress reliever, is skating. Something I picked back up later in life. I skated as a young kid, and I love doing it.
That's very cool. So we're actually on to the last question now, and we can't avoid the subject of COVID-19. So what do you think the impact on the global economy will be over the upcoming years?
What I saw initially, and global economy, it's a big, far-reaching statement. But let me tell you a little bit about what I saw initially and what I see now. So I actually, Raven worked with an HR professional industry group. We did a study, in April, to ask what the impacts of the COVID-19 situation were on current projects in flight. So, how has the pandemic impacted those projects? And in about 75% of the current projects, those projects were either stalled, put on pause, couple, maybe 10% were canceled altogether. And the rest of them had a change in scope. And so, companies really pared back what they were doing in terms of projects, and things like that. What we're seeing now, though, and this is, 5 months later after this study, is that I think solidly companies are starting to pick those projects up. So those 75% that, stalled, or, the portion that stalled, are starting to now pick those pieces back up and get those, those projects back on track. So I think we're seeing now, companies starting to realize, okay, so we need to continue our projects if we're going to enable our workforce for the future. And we're actually seeing more companies looking at new digital programs for 2021, as well as new projects to breathe new life into existing platforms that they have. So I think eventually, we'll see things come back to, probably within the next year, back to where they were in terms of software investment. We've already seen certain industries actually booming in terms of digital transformations. But it comes in different places. There's certain industries that haven't yet gotten the train back on track. But I think that's going to happen. And I think, the next 6 months are going to be very interesting, particularly in the U.S., what's going to happen with the election, what's going to happen in terms of a vaccine. Are kids going to physically be able to go back to school, post-October and things like that? I think all of those sort of indicators will help to speed the global economy, ramping back up and things like that. But I think we're still probably 6 months off from really understanding what the long-term sort of outlook is. But I would say that, how quickly we can get to a vaccine and how safe that vaccine is when we can get kids back in school, those are two huge, I would say, indicators as to what the future is going to look like in terms of global economy.
That's all we've got time for today. So thank you very much for joining us.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for having me.